Call of Duty Ghosts is set in 12 years in the future from now. And at the start of the game, it says 12 years previous, and it shows America invading and overthrowing Venezuela, which is right now.
So no, that's not correct. But I kind of blame myself for this one because I have timelines of the Modern Warfare universe, the old Modern Warfare universe, Black Ops universe, but not Call of Duty Ghosts. And I've seen a lot of videos like this about Call of Duty Ghosts since the whole Venezuela thing, and almost 100% of them are incorrect about the timeline. So I thought I would take it upon myself to inform you guys of what the real timeline of Call of Duty Ghosts is. And it starts a lot earlier than you think. The year is 2005, and there is a brand new war that has struck up, and this is known as the Tel Aviv War. Now, to be completely honest with you, this is incredibly similar to the current Israel and Hamas war that is going on in the real world to a huge extent. So this Tel Aviv war is basically between Israel and Iran, at least it's heavily implied that, and at this time, America goes in and fights alongside Israel. Now, it begins with an operation known as Operation Sandviper. And at this point, 60 men of Tier 1 teams are deployed to somewhere in the Middle East, somewhere in Tel Aviv. Their one job is to protect a hospital and its occupants from a large force of approximately 500 enemies. Now, for 3 straight days of heavy fighting, these 60 men were eventually cut down to 15. And it was at this point where they decided to evacuate the hospital. So one of the 15 members went to go do that. Now, the other 14 returned to the line, but at this point, after 3 days of fighting, they had lost all of their bullets, their weapons have run dry, so they hid. They hid beneath the bodies of their fallen brothers. And when the enemy soldiers arrived, the 14 American soldiers attacked in a method so fierce, so quick that they devastated their enemies. They resorted to their weapons like knives and bare hands.
Using stealth their enemies couldn't defend against. When the men ran dry of ammunition, they used their blades. And when the blades ran dull, they used their hands. When the dust and sand had settled, only one of the enemy had survived. He was picked up in the desert, wandering aimlessly, traumatized. He expressed warnings to others of a force so menacing and unbeatable, it could only be described as supernatural. He called them ghosts.
So this is where the Ghosts were born in the year 2005. Members like Elias Walker, Rorke, Merrick, and Ajax were all a part of Operation Sandviper. The crazy part is the Ghosts continued to fight in the Tel Aviv War for approximately 10 years, spanning from the year 2005 all the way up until 2015. But it was about a year before this, in the year 2014, that the world would change forever. After fighting in the Middle East for nearly 9 years, there would be a massive first world global energy crisis between the United States, NATO, and their allies, which in this world included Russia, China, and India. All of them were lacking these natural resources that would give them energy. However, one country that did not have that problem, one that was rich with natural resources, was Venezuela, who teamed up with Argentina, Brazil, and Chile, and on June the 2nd, 2014, they created a new world power known as the Federation, or as we're going to see here, the Federation of the Americas. So over the next year, between 2014 and 2015, a line was drawn in the sand between the Federation and the United States. It was at this point where things became extreme, and the leader of the Federation Army, by the name of General Diego Almagro, ordered that all US-born citizens were to be imprisoned and executed. Among those were a group of 20 UN peacekeepers. The US saw this as a message of war, and the president sent in a force. Specifically on July 8th, 2016, the Ghosts were sent into Venezuela. This included Elias Walker as well as Gabriel T. Rorke. They were sent in to go in and assassinate or at least take prisoner Diego Almagro. Now, during this raid, they knew that they were screwed, so the Federation took things to drastic measures, where at one point they ended up shooting missiles into their own dam, flooding their own city, killing their own citizens, as well well as Federation soldiers, all to stop the US invasion. But this wouldn't stop the Ghosts. Eventually, they would fight their way up to the top of the roof, get their way on the helicopter along with Almagro, and end up taking him out. But this would also cause the helicopter that they were in to crash, crashing into the ground and leaving Gabriel T. Rorke, one of the leaders of the Ghosts, hanging off the building.
We're too heavy. Elias, I need you to... Elias! We're too heavy! Elias!
So what did you do?
I made the hardest decision of my life. I let him go and saved the others.
So after falling into the water, Rorke was missing. The US Army looked for him for weeks, but simply could not find him. And after this time, he was ruled dead. The US Army abandoned him, but the thing is Rorke survived the fall and he was captured by the Federation. They ended up using extreme exotic torture methods that Amazon tribes used to use way back in the day. This included breaking his body down by feeding him foods mixed with poison from exotic plants, and then it moves to his mind and his soul. They successfully brainwashed Rorke and turning him from a ghost into a ghost killer, and then he would be one of the leaders of the Federation Army. Now this part I need to be very clear with, because there is some argument when Call of Duty Ghosts actually takes place, but I have proof to support what this timeline actually is. So the next part of the story takes place in the year 2017. The reason why we know this is because David Hesh Walker was born in the year 1999. He joined the military right when he turned 18, which is in the year 2017. This next part that we're about to talk about takes place just shortly after he joins the US Army. In other words, the year 2017. This will be important in a moment. So in the year 2017, the two brothers sat there listening to tales from their father, Elias Walker, getting told about the Ghosts. Now, David had just become a member of the US Army, but at this time, something more diabolical was going on around the orbit of the Earth. At this time, the US had access to what they called the Odin program, which was a satellite roaming around the Earth that could launch 6-meter-long tungsten rods into the Earth, causing massive devastation. But it was at this time that the Federation Army had other plans. They sent soldiers into outer space to take over the satellite and did exactly that, targeting specifically the US, several areas around it, launching these enormous projectiles into the Earth, causing massive devastation, earthquakes, and killing millions. Now, where David, Logan, and Elias struggled just to stay alive, out in outer space, the US could only do one thing: destroy the satellites, destroying the Odin program before all of those projectiles could fall to the Earth. So they did exactly that, and eventually the Walkers ended up making it out alive. Now, this triggered a war between the Federation Army and the United States. The United States building a giant wall as a dividing line between the North and South Americas. So that took place in 2017. The rest of the game takes place 10 years later, in the year 2027, not 2026, not 12 years later, 10 years later. Now at this point, after the wall has been created, there is an area between the two known as No Man's Land. One of the members of the Ghosts has gone missing by the name of Ajax, and Elias can only trust two people, his sons. David and Logan are sent into No Man's Land to look for Ajax, and when they find him, they don't just find him, they find that he's being held hostage by one of the generals of the Federation Army, someone who we may recognize from before, that of course being Gabriel T. Rorke. Now, he tries to get information out of Ajax, but Ajax won't give him any, so they bring him back to Firebase Charlie to interrogate him. Firebase Charlie being a giant baseball diamond. Now, when they get to the baseball diamond once again, they end up seeing Ajax being tortured and interrogated by Rorke, but we don't know fully why at this point. That is until we go further into the baseball diamond and end up making our way to Ajax. Unfortunately, when we get there, it's too late.
Ajax!
How is he?
It's bad. Son of a... Hang in there, Ajax. Hang in.
Rorke. It was Rorke. He's targeting. Look, the wall.
Come on, hang in there, Ajax.
He's gone. Damn it.
Merrick, you gotta look at this.
Get him ready to move. It's a kill list. Rorke's targeting ghosts.
But who the hell is Rorke?
No time to explain, kid.
Now, after Ajax passes, this is when we find out what Rorke's plan actually is. In the baseball diamond, we end up finding a hit list of all of the ghost members. We now know that Rorke is going after everyone in the ghosts. And by interrogating Ajax, Rorke actually finds out where one of the ghost bases, specifically the base that their father, Elias, is at. So they have to make their way back fast, and when they do and end up getting there, it is already under attack. So they start to mount a defense. But at this point, their father is missing, so they go and try tracking him down. Now, this battle takes a while, and in fact, both Logan and David end up getting captured almost by the Federation army. This is when the ghosts come to their rescue, diving in from above and bringing them back up onto a helicopter. But at this point, the two brothers have not found their father yet, and they start to panic, saying they need to go back down there so that they can rescue Elias. But what they don't know is the ghosts, specifically the leader, had a little bit of a secret.
Stow it, all of you! We have to go back. Our dad's down there, and we're not leaving without him.
That's real admirable of you. But your father's not there anymore.
Dad, this whole time you were one of them. You're a ghost.
Try the ghost. That's your commanding officer. You boys have no idea how hard this was for me. But once I make a choice, there's no turning back. You and your brother still have a lot to learn, but you passed all your tests. Welcome to the Ghosts.
We're ready. We won't let you down.
There's no way you ever could.
So now that his sons are right there with him as members of Ghosts, they then go on their very first mission. This mission is to kind of where it all began. Not Tel Aviv, but rather Caracas, Venezuela. Now, Venezuela at this point looks very, very different, and the reason is all of that money that the Federation has put into these natural resources, into the gas that Venezuela has gone into building up their city and building up their infrastructure. So it's now kind of a metropolis. But we go in there to investigate a VIP by the name of Victor Ramos, essentially a right-hand man to Rorke. But when we get there and start interrogating Ramos, Rorke pops up on the screen and lets us know that this entire thing has been a trap. So we grab Ramos's laptop and, well, jump out of the building and get out of there. So after they leave, they investigate the laptop and they end up finding out why it's been so hard for them to find Rorke. As it turns out, every 12 hours, he switches his location. So on June 16th, 2027, they know where he's going to be. He's going to be in the oil fields in the Gulf of Mexico, specifically out on a rig. So they get a task force together, jump in some AH-64 Apaches, and pinpoint down Rorke's location. And eventually, they actually end up trapping him. But here's the thing. Once again, Rorke was a step ahead. And in fact, he even wanted to be captured because that ship that they're on, well, they shoot it down.
Me, Elias. You just made my job a hell of a lot easier. If you make it out of this, kid, come find me. Always room for one more.
So they end up crashing into the heart of a dense jungle somewhere in Mexico. Everyone is separated, but eventually the entire team, including Hesh, Elias, Keegan, Merrick, and of course Logan, all end up meeting up. And when they do, they witness a missile being launched. But here's the thing, when they get extracted out of the area, they can't figure out where that missile was actually going. So the United States puts together something by the name of Operation Clockwork. The next mission that they are sent on is to go and infiltrate a facility in the kind of Chilean, Argentinian mountains on the border between the two. So what they end up doing is killing a couple of the guards there and disguising themselves as Federation soldiers, breaking inside and eventually stealing a whole bunch of data. As they eventually go to escape, they end up making their way onto some frozen waters where their submarine surfaces and they get inside. Now they have all of the information they need. The missiles are being launched from the port of Rio. However, it is insanely heavily guarded. So they come up with a plan. The plan all begins on June 25th, 2027. Logan, Hesh, Keegan, and Merrick go to Antarctica of all places. Why? Because the Federation has a key oil platform there that one produces a lot of oil and they would like to shut down, but more importantly, it's a distraction. They want to distract the Third Fleet of the Federation and pull them away from Rio. So they do exactly that. They break into the oil platform, they explode the entire thing. And they get out of Dodge. After this, they work their way a little bit closer to Rio de Janeiro. They start off underwater on the 27th of June, 2027. Now, this mission is important for a couple of reasons, because number one, this is where we first get fish AI.
So we have fish move out of the way when you get close to them.
But after this, we work our way underwater and you kind of have to look out for the sharks.
Damn it, get the hell, Logan! Get the hell, Logan!
But if you do all of that, eventually you're able to launch a Proteus missile right into one of the Federation's vessels. Now, this vessel is important to destroy because it is protecting the facility in Rio de Janeiro. Now, once they do this, Logan, Hesh, Keegan, and Merrick are able to infiltrate this Federation weapon facility. Now, when they break into this weapons facility, they quickly realize that they are not launching missiles. They are launching satellites designed after the same Odin system that they used 10 years earlier and destroyed in outer space. They are planning on making the exact same Odin system that the United States used to use. So our characters go in, discover this, and Elias calls in an airstrike on the facility to destroy what they're making. But it's actually a little bit too little, too late, because already the Federation have launched several of these satellites into outer space. So things are already bad, but our characters work our way back to their main base back in Las Vegas. However, upon getting there, they weren't the first ones there. Rorke beat them to it. So Rorke has captured all of them. The two brothers, the dad, have all been captured, but not all of the ghosts are back as of yet. But they are gonna be there in about 5 minutes, which isn't enough time because Rorke already has them held captive. Now, this would be the last time the two brothers would see their father. But there's one thing for sure. Elias was proud of his boys.
I'm proud of you, Logan. Everything's gonna be okay.
You are right, Elias. I'm not a ghost. I'm the man that hunts them and sends them back to the other side.
So as that happens, it is at this time that the ghosts return. Elias has been killed, but his boys manage to escape. But when things seemingly can't go from bad to worse, they're going to escape the facility in Las Vegas, the worst possible thing happens.
Go, Riley!
The goodest boy of all, Riley, gets shot, and now it is in more dire than ever. The boys need to get out with their family and military dog, and they do exactly that. They carry Riley to safety, and, well, he needs to get bandaged up from there. Now, after they end up escaping, they get on the helicopter, and this takes them to the USS Liberator, which is the United States' last and final aircraft, and they have to defend it from the Federation, which they end up doing successfully. But here's the thing, the Federation is now overmanned over top of the United States. They have more infantry, they have more sea vehicles, and now they have satellites in outer space, which is about to drop tungsten rods on them. The only way they can stop them is by destroying the satellite arrays that are communicating with them. So they take some Abrams tanks and they go ham. So they are cracking down on the satellite arrays, destroying them, and doing everything correctly. And in fact, they're even winning this battle. But that's when Logan and Hesh find out that Rorke is there, escaping on a maglev train, and they go after him. Now, it is at the same time that they are assaulting the satellite array that in outer space, another battle is going down. They are doing what the Federation did to them back 10 years ago. They've sent soldiers into outer space, and they are cracking down on what they call the Loki space station, which is essentially the Federation's version of the Odin space station from the very beginning. So you go in and attack and end up overtaking the Federation. Now, as our forces end up taking over the Loki facility, at the same time, Logan and Hesh are working their way to the front of the maglev train to stop Rorke. And upon getting there, they realize that there is only one option to stop Rorke. They need to call in the strike, an Odin strike, on the exact train that they're in. Incredibly danger close to where they are. And that's exactly what they do.
Checkmate.
Checkmate confirmed.
What was that? What'd you do?
Target the train and fire on it.
Sir, there are ghosts on that train.
The order comes from the ghosts. You're confirmed. Repeat, confirmed. Fire on that train.
Lost work. It's over.
So Logan shoots Rorke, the bullet goes through him and seemingly hits his brother David as well. But as they sink deeper into the water, the glass cracks on the train, he's actually able to grab his brother and swim to the surface, pulling him up on shore, and seemingly they've done it. They shot Rorke, they've killed Rorke, they've made it out of there alive, and they've even stopped the Loki space station. This could put an end to the entire war between the United States and the Federation, especially with the death of Rorke. The credits play and everything is happy, but that's not the end, because as the credits fade to black, there is one more scene.
Look at what you did. You're good. You'd have been a hell of a ghost. But that's not gonna happen. There ain't gonna be any ghosts. We're gonna destroy him together.
Logan. Logan! Logan!
So So on July 5th, 2027, Rorke takes Logan captive, promising to make him the next ghost killer. And in a post-credits scene, we can see in the jungle day turning into night as Logan is captured and held underground, tortured just like Rorke was years before, turning him into a cold-blooded killer. Now, unfortunately, we would never see what happens next. We would never see whether or not the ghost would come in and save David, pulling him back to health. We would never get to see a battle between the two brothers later down the road because a Ghost sequel was never created. One that could, well, be better than most of the Call of Duty titles we've seen in the last decade. This story, I believe, is one of, if not the most underrated Call of Duty story that has ever existed, and it's a shame that we've never seen a sequel. But with Call of Duty promising that they were going to make bigger changes and make larger innovations, maybe, just maybe, we can get away from the Modern Warfare and Black Ops franchise and maybe get the final sequel to the Ghost series decades later. Or maybe that's just a pipe dream. But if you'd like to see that and you enjoyed this video, it'd be greatly appreciated if you could hit the like button, subscribe to stay up to date on more video game story. Until next time, peace.